Hey everyone, today we're going to be reviewing this week's Dev Diary, focusing on the nations of Ajuuraan and Ethiopia, both very interesting nations already in the Horn of Africa. By the way, if you're interested in the background time-lapse for this video, it's my France Better Than Napoleon campaign, linked down below in the description. We're going to be starting off with Ajuuraan, a nation that I know of because of its Muslim theocracy eligible for the Rags to Riches achievement, both very interesting dynamics, already in the game of course. Historically, it is known for its impressive irrigation system, for its unique position as a theocratic clan state, as a trading nation which had its merchants active in India and Asia, and even as a winner against Portuguese aggression. Paradox's words, not mine. Our mission tree this week focuses on these aspects and honestly looks fairly unique from what I can see. The first column focuses on Ajuurani trade, with a big focus on the city of Mogadishu, famous for Black Hawk Down, which once you annex, the eponymous nation allows you to complete the first mission, giving access to the Gain Gold Access mission. This is a fun mission because it can be completed either through conquest, simply having a gold province, or in the mildly more interesting diplomatic path. If completed diplomatically, done by allying and having 100 opinions with a nation producing gold, that nation will then receive an event asking them to give you gold. If they refuse, they get mercantilism and you get jack squat. If they accept, however, they reduce their global trade power by 5%, but gain an increase of 5% to goods produced, and increased inflation reduction of 0.05 a year for 25 years. In this case, you as Ajuuraan will get a 10% increase to global trade power, 25% increased trade power abroad, and 0.05 inflation per year for 25 years. Pretty neat. This trade power abroad is very useful for the next mission, Trade with India, requiring you to have 5% trade power in any Indian trade node, any of them. This will trigger a similar event as the last one for all countries with their capital in India, not just in the node you have 5% in, which allows them to either accept your investment, giving them 10% reduced domestic trade power in exchange for 15% increased goods produced for 15 years, or they can choose to expel your merchants, and it is unclear what happens if they do, but the Dev Diary notes that they will always expel you if their attitude towards you is outraged, hostile, or rivalry. After this, the missions branch off in three directions. One requiring a merchant in Beijing, another requiring good relations with Dongqing, no specific opinion modifier given here, and the last having 5% trade power in the Moluccas. If you complete the Trade with the Dragon mission, having a merchant in Beijing, the Emperor of China will get an event allowing them to open an exotic zoo. Pretty funny, not gonna lie. All three of these missions have some kind of event for the nations you are interacting with, while you yourself gain cash, mercantilism, or monarch power, unclear in what order and in what amounts. The fourth and fifth column of the tree are military and conquest-focused missions, mainly focusing around consolidating the Horn of Africa and eventually forming Somalia. Disappointed there are no pirate jokes here, honestly, but it's a pretty simple tree though, so nothing really to showcase. One last thing for Ajuuraan, however, there is a mission called Hydraulic Expertise that grants an estate privilege for your country, giving 50% reduced development costs for desert, coastal desert, steppe, and savanna provinces. This is really helpful, but it isn't a 50% cost reduction to overall deving, just a 50% cost reduction to the negative modifiers those types give. This privilege is no surprise granted to the ever more powerful burghers, granting them 10% loyalty equilibrium, love that, 15% influence, and minus 10 max absolutism. Just wonderful, just what we need. Why do they hate absolutism so much in this update, and why do they keep giving it to the important flavor privileges? Do they not want you to have those privileges after the age of absolutism? Who knows? Moving on, we come to the part of the update I have been most anticipating and am extremely excited about, a large mission tree for Ethiopia, my favorite African nation to play. I love to see Africa getting all of this love, And this mission tree has 3 main parts, focusing on the strength of the Coptic faith, rebuilding your lost empire, and contact with Europe as the legendary kingdom of Prester John. If you're interested in that, maybe check out my ancient video from 2017 showcasing my Prester John achievement run. Maybe? Yeah, I don't know. To you. Starting off, the Dev Diary covers the rightmost missions, focusing on the reclamation of the Aksumite Empire's lands and growing outside of them, of what they ever were historically. Extremely conservative missions, they only give permanent claims on the entire Horn of Africa and a few Arabian provinces inside the Gulf of Aden trade node. Very laid back, totally not overpowered. There is a very cool mission, Centralize the State, requiring you to have reached the 6th tier of government reforms or have abandoned your starting reform. Like in the last diary, they're starting to tie more mechanics into mission trees, and I just love that. It really makes the whole game feel more integrated together and marks a change in the DLC policy that I love to see. Paradox goes on to mention that the next 2 additions were actually suggestions from a player, another huge step in the right direction towards fixing their DLC policy, taking note from what the players have to say about it. The first of the 2 additions is Ethiopia's Itinerant capital mechanic, which ties into Ethiopia historically not having a permanent set capital at the start of the game. Ethiopia will receive an event that explains the moving capital system and its drawbacks. The event itself gives you a modifier that gives all of your states plus 15 minimum autonomy and plus 0.2 monthly autonomy change. Really, really bad. To help with this really irritating modifier, the area that your capital is in gets a modifier in every province giving -2 local unrest, -15% local minimum autonomy, and -0.25 monthly autonomy, overriding the 0.2. That's really nice. And as well as giving 0.25 monthly devastation reduction, and lastly, plus 0.03 local prosperity growth, a rather rare modifier in the game. You are also basically completely prohibited from moving your capital for 5 years after your most recent time moving it, as you get a plus 1000% modifier every time you move it, lasting those 5 years. To get rid of the itinerant capital modifier, the really negative one, you must complete the Centralize the State mission, which gives you an which gives you an event allowing you to take a new Tier 1 government reform, the Solomonic Empire. It is fixed to Empire rank and allows recruiting the unique Kawa unit type, similar to the Nagusa Nagast monarchy that Ethiopia starts with, which gives it the itinerant capital mechanic. This new reform loses the -10% stability cost and -75% move capital cost modifiers of the Nagusa Nagast monarchy government reform, and instead gives an extra -1 national unrest, bringing the total to -2, +2 tolerance of the true faith, stacking really well with Ethiopia's ideas, and a later permanent bonus from your missions, as well as +20 max absolutism and 100% possible Kawa regiments. I really hope that max absolutism helps balance all the absolutism you're losing from these new privileges they keep adding. On to these Kawa regiments. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, by the way. They are a unit type similar to the Ottoman Janissary, being limited to 2 certain government reforms, the Nagusa Nagast and Solomonic Empire reforms, respectively. Not respectively, it's the same thing. They can be recruited in provinces of any faith, unlike the Janissaries, which can only be recruited in heathen provinces. Their force limit is determined by your total development, 1 regiment for every 8 development, which can be brought down or up by various modifiers available to Ethiopia. The units themselves have plus 5% discipline over your regular army, but also a very annoying plus 50% reinforced cost modifier, and they cost 10 military power to recruit each regiment, similar to Turkish Janissaries. All of these modifiers and values are subject to change, and currently the units do not have a special color. It is noted that they may get the color yellow, but the Dev Diary falsely states no other unit type has yellow as its special color, forgetting about the Cossack units for Eastern Tech nations. Next, the legendary war, in quotations because I've never heard about it, between Ethiopia and Adal is the focus. Historically, Ethiopia was almost brought to ruin by the Adalese Sultanate, backed by the mighty Ottoman Empire, and would have been brought to ruin if not for the help of the Portuguese. Seems odd, but it's true. In-game, this war is emulated by events for both Ethiopia and Adal, but with a small issue. In EU4, Portugal is not very stable compared to the Ottomans. You'll see Ottomans expanding a lot more than Portugal ever does, and Portugal will often be fully annexed by Morocco and Castile and various other enemies, depending on who's strong in the region in that game. Much more often than the Ottomans will be blocked out by other nations. To solve this, they have given 2 mercenary companies instead of direct support from those nations. The Ottoman Janissaries and the Portuguese Musketeers for Adal and Ethiopia respectively. The Janissaries have minus 10% shock and fire damage received with a 3-3-2-0 general, pretty good, and the Musketeers have plus 5% discipline and plus 10% infantry combat ability with a 4-4-3-0 general. You can definitely see which one is better here. It's much more powerful overall than the Janissaries. Both companies' events that give the nation 5 army professionalism to help offset the cost of hiring them, because if you didn't know, hiring mercenaries costs 5% army professionalism per company hired, and 25% army tradition. And both companies are cheaper than normal mercenaries to encourage the player to hire them over your regular army. I think giving them that 5% army professionalism at the start is a really nice way to offset the debuff and actually makes me want to take them for once, which Paradox never does. There are a few more small things for Ethiopia, one being an event chain triggered by the Create the Ethiopian Navy mission, where a small fleet sails along the Nile River and ends up meeting the Pope, a really cool little bit of flavor that Paradox didn't have to add, but they did. I love it. The Modernize the Army mission allows Ethiopia, somewhat brokenly, to switch their unit type to Western, as far as I know the only mission in the game to do something similar, for good reason, because Western is the best in the late game when you're going to be taking this mission. The Train the Kawa mission unlocks noble estate privileges that limit the amount of Kawa regiments you can recruit by 50% each in exchange for global modifiers, one being -1 national unrest and the other being 5% siege ability. Personally, I think those are both negligible and would only be taken in fringe cases, but that's just me. Finally, the Ethiopian Mission Tree only grants 1 permanent modifier after completing the A Blessed Empire mission, granting -15% stability cost and +3 tolerance of the true faith, both very nice, stacking well with Ethiopia's ideas and other missions, and just the general feel of the country. Both of those are nice, but I would wish Tinto would give more permanent modifiers to mission trees, as it makes it feel much more impactful to your nation to actually complete them. That's the end of the new content for this update, but the Dev Diary does revisit West Africa, similar to the last one, again calling on the player base to change some of the starting setup of the region. They have split the Mossy Kingdom into 3 others, Yatenga, Fada Ngorma, known in-game as the Gorma, and Ouagadougou. Additionally, the nation of Messina has been annexed into Mali for historical reasons, although it is said they are probably going to try to rebalance this, as this massive gain of land for Mali makes them far more powerful than the rest of the region. They have also said every Bambara province now has a Segu core, and the events that bring about the nations of Fulani and Ashanti allow you to switch to those 2 tags. The Songhai tree has also been slightly updated, with the decision coming from the Focus on a Professional Army mission, costing 75 mil power per ruler instead of 200, a great change, and as well as a small quality of life addition to the tree, allowing you to hover over the dynamic missions to see their triggers and effects. I hope you enjoyed my little review of the diary, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like and a comment down below telling me what you liked about it. And consider subscribing for weekly Dev Diary updates and daily EU4 campaigns. Have a great day!